In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, our holiday wish list, a Lenovo giveaway, stay tuned for that one, and GPUs fight to the death. Next. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Dave Altavilla here for Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks live stream. It's been a minute. I'm never really fond of that saying. It's been a minute. It's been more than a minute, actually. It's been a couple of weeks at least. Marco's here. Can we add him to the stream? Yep, there he is. Look at him.
I've been waiting here the whole time. I didn't just join 30 seconds ago. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Last minute Nelly. That's what you are. I don't know.
No, I'm always very prompt and right on time all the time.
That's okay. It's okay. It's good to have you with us, brother. It's good to have Chris with us. We're all not rested, all a little bit overworked and underpaid probably, but that's okay. We'll survive. Lots of great stuff going on this time of year in the run up to CES, which we will be attending. These two fellas over, how do I go? Over there? Over there. Yeah, over there.
Somewhere.
They're attending. They're attending in person. Marco and Chris will be boots on the ground at CES in Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas, in the first week of January. It's like the 4th through the, what is it?
Something, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So wait, before we begin, I gotta say, Chris's video is looking very special. Did you get some new gear or something?
Crispy.
It's a wee bit upgraded.
Right.
Yeah. So
I want to reach in and touch you.
I was doing a little bit of gear
and none of that
because Dave upgraded to the Canon R6 last year before.
Yes.
And I was still on the ADD. But see, Canon just brought out the R6 Mark II, and I couldn't resist. So
you had to one up.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
With the nice f4 kit lens too.
Oh yeah, which
is that it there? What are you piping through now? The pancake?
This is the 50 millimeter f1.8 STM. So
okay,
a little bit of the background blur. I got my 7200 over there.
Excellent. Brian Caldell says, "Good evening and Merry Christmas, everyone." Thanks, Brian.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas right back at you. Bryant, actually, with a T on the end. I like that name. Excellent. And so the other thing we're doing now, I have to start the tradition again, Chris. And I'm going to be pouring myself a Dogfish Head.
There you go.
60-minute IPA.
Good call.
Yep, because it's beer 30 here on the East Coast. It is 5:33 p.m. Eastern to be exact, so it is absolutely beer 30.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot to talk to because we've been out of the loop for a little while here. But we'll catch up quick, guaranteed. Before we dig in too much, we talked about cameras. Marco, you've got some exciting stuff on the test bench, I know. Can you disclose at this juncture what you're kicking around?
Two things I cannot disclose. They are CES announcements. I am putting in a review. I unfortunately have had this on hand for a while. Unfortunately, had some family issues to attend with the last few months, but I have a beautiful Alder Lake 3080 Ti powered MSI notebook going in hopefully for the review tomorrow.
Nice.
Let me look
Very
around.
nice.
What else am I forgetting here?
3080 Ti.
We don't have to do that. Yeah, I think that's all I can talk about right now.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I've got some stuff I can't talk about hiding behind me on that table, but I can't talk about that either. Chris, you have something with many threads that we'll probably touch base on a little bit later, but yeah. That's
you want me to speak to it now or wait
you
for
can.
it?
Yeah, sure. Tease around a little bit.
It's a Dell Precision, numbers escaping the 7865, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, it's got a 64 core Threadripper on board, the 5995WX. So absolutely insane power, backed with 8-channel memory, 64 gigs, NVIDIA RTX 6000, the professional GPU, with 48 gigs of VRAM on that. So a little bit of power. So
it's the 7865. I just looked it up.
7865.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My eyes in the dark office aren't seeing too well, but it seems to be a great system, very so far, and for a workstation, it seems to be remarkably quiet. I've got to do some actual, with the meter testing and stuff, but a lot of times these stacked systems can be quite uncomfortable to work right next to. So we'll see how it
Nice.
goes.
64 cores, gobs of RAM, and a beefy quadro card in there, and the thing's quiet. That's a good early indicator. So tons of firepower. That'll be good. Content creation extraordinaire machine. That's what that is. And a few other things. So cool. We'll look forward to your review in the days ahead. That's what's coming, folks. Let's see. Another thing that we put up today that you folks might want to check out. I'm going to drop this into the chat for all. This just went live yesterday. Yes, the Hot Hardware Holiday Wish List. So these are gifts curated by our staff, and specifically things that we want. And there's some interesting stuff in there, from Raspberry Pi to secure thumb drives to 8-bit Dio Ultimate controllers, Bluetooth controllers. I've got a robot vac in there because I'm a little OCD and I like, to have my little robot slave clean up the floor. That's fun. Chris, what was yours in there? What do you have?
So I've got the Death Adder Mini. So if you're like me and kind of grew up with the Death Adder as the first gaming mouse and want something small and portable to bring around with you, that's
Razer,
Razer, then should be a great mouse, and it's only like $20 at most of the time. It goes on sale a lot, so it's a good pickup. I've also got a set of the newer lights that I have above me. They're great, compact, and you can slap batteries on them, take them on the go. And I think you can get 2 for $80 or whatever the sale was currently. So good deal on that.
You want to be a streamer like you extraordinaire, right?
And then, of course, a nice desk mat, because desk mats are magic.
Okay.
And I would share this out, but right now I've managed to do my special gift of breaking things. And so I just want you to see this, Dave. I don't know what's happening here, but it just kind of zooms in. So
I've never seen that. Never seen that, Chris. You need to stop breaking stuff. Stop breaking stuff.
I have a gift. It's my Christmas gift to you.
Beautiful.
Marco, what did you have in there? I dropped a couple of links from Chris's. What did you have?
Yeah, I kind of want to spring forward. I want a new lens for the camera. Right now I'm on a 25 millimeter 1.8, and it's too tight. I feel like my face is on top where you guys have like this nice framing. So OMDS has a nice 20 millimeter that is a nice compact weather sealed lens that I would like to stream with and also have for street photography.
I also an Olympus lens or OMD lens, now that you don't have.
There is, because I have the 25 and I have the 12 to 40. So I don't need another prime in this range, but for streaming, it would be perfect. Just to get a little wider than I am right now, it would be great. I also, I hate the fact that I'm still hobbled along on gigabit Ethernet. I would love a new router, the Asus ROG Rapture AXE 16000 to get those dual 10 gig ports and that 2.5G WAN port. Get this network upgraded to 10G so I can transfer some small files to the NAS. 10x faster would be great. And I also want a new monitor, but Dave happened to put in the exact monitor that I would probably buy right now. I want a nice 32-inch IPS with high DCI gamut coverage with a high refresh rate, and this gigabyte one for $600. It's like a steal for those settings. I am hoping I get some Amazon gift cards for Christmas, and I'll probably spring for that monitor.
There you go. Yeah, I just dropped that in there. The Gigabyte M32U, 32-inch, 144 hertz, 4K FreeSync gaming monitor.
Wait, can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
There's a dog barking too.
Oh, sorry, it's Mac. We have a friend over on Twitch that actually, so Paul put in the CyberPower UPS for his gift list. So you should come check out the gift list, see what else cool stuff is there. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name. Nuru Poga, I guess, is how you say that.
Cool. And so I put that monitor in, and I also put this Eufy robot vacuum that is there's lots of really good sales. This thing is like 57% off currently. And man, I got into a robot vac a little while ago. I bought a different model of the Eufy. This is kind of the upgraded version, but it's little bit newer. And man, I didn't know what I was missing. It's like I just let the thing go, and an hour later, the place is clean. It's amazing. I love it. So anyway, so there you go. There's our holiday wish list from Hot Hardware. Some gear and gadgets for all you geeks. Check it out at hothardware.com. And let's see what else was in the news. I'll just talk real quick. Chris, we're talking about Threadripper earlier. This is kind of interesting. And then we'll talk giveaway, and then we'll get into the meat. We got what seems to be some rumors of Ryzen Threadripper 7000 Storm Peak. That is the alleged code name. And a fairly reliable leaker on Twitter had left this. It stands to reason that AMD would be getting back into the Threadripper action. We've heard rumblings, Intel getting back into workstation class CPUs, high-end desktop many thread CPUs. And so AMD readying for battle, I would say, as well, makes sense. Marco, Chris, anything to add to that conjecture and speculation?
I mean, I think I'm certainly looking forward to it, because with some of the testing I've been doing, a lot of the high-end desktop systems are limiting you to dual channel memory. And when you get a system like Threadripper Pro that lets you get 4 or 8 channels of memory, and you can get a lot more bandwidth through when you're doing high-end creation type stuff, you can really push the productivity on that in ways you wouldn't expect. So it's not just about the threads. So the threads are very, very nice, but the memory bandwidth to keep things fueled and moving is quite invaluable.
Threads are very nice. Anything to pile on there, Marco, or is it just, bring it?
No,
right?
what he said.
Yeah, bring it. Bring that chip, AMD. We would love to see it.
Yes, those are my. I'm still rocking a 2990 in my personal rig that I'm streaming from right now. I would love for a next gen Threadripper to populate my next rig.
And having played with Genoa and their 96 core CPU in that, dual 96 cores, 384 total threads at once in that. I mean, it can be nutty amounts of performance. Obviously, we're probably not going to see a dual socket Threadripper system. But if we could see a 96 core Threadripper or Threadripper Pro, that'd be a lot of fun.
Sapphire Rapids is coming too, and you can see that potentially trickling down to a high-end desktop platform of some sort.
The rumors have already hit that there will be workstation Sapphire Rapids, so that's going to be really interesting.
Yep. Yeah, so good things to look forward to. Some things you never know may come out of the woodwork at CES. Usually do, even if sometimes they're leaked and hinted at, or somebody lets some motherboard design out of the back room by accident, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So we'll stay tuned for your reports, your boots on the ground coverage of CES Las Vegas, gentlemen.
Hopefully we get a bunch of video, so keep an eye on the channel. The plan is to have a lot of video this year. We'll see if Chris and I can pull it off. We'll see.
We'll try to keep up.
And I've already got a bunch of stuff, by the way, that I can't talk about, but from the good folks at Dell, who are going to be showing some stuff. We'll just leave it at that. And also a great name in laptops and desktops. The good folks at Lenovo are sponsoring a giveaway with us that we will be kicking off. What do you think? We're going to kick it off this week and let it run through CES timeframe? Yeah,
that's
next
probably
week.
Right. As soon as we start putting up early CES news, we should probably announce.
Yeah, so we're going to be giving away a bunch of stuff from Lenovo. ThinkBook Plus Gen 3 17-inch laptop with dual displays. I don't know if maybe I can drop a link in the chat, and Chris, you can hit it.
Yeah. Are you able to? Do you have it up on yours to share out?
Kind of, sort of. Hang on. Let me zoom. This is the top prize. And let me go back to StreamYard and let me go present. And let's see. Can I do slides? Hang on. No. What am I doing?
All right. Well, you figure that out. I'll quickly because I saw
share screen. There
mentioned earlier. Sanchez also asking for a Destiny 2 stream. So I'm in the process of figuring out what I want for a new desktop system. As soon as I get that built, I'll probably be doing a lot of game streaming, Destiny 2 and other stuff, just to go nuts. So hopefully in the next couple of months, I'll have something rolling.
There you go. Yeah. And so, yeah, this is what I was trying to share out. It took me a little bit, but this is the top prize. That is a pretty cool machine. As you can see, the secondary display on the right-hand side. Talk about, all kinds
That's
of,
wild.
if you can sketch, if you're a sketcher or doodler, that's an 8-inch secondary screen right next to the keyboard. So yeah, that baby is coming up for a giveaway, the ThinkBook Plus Gen 3. And then we've got an IdeaPad 5i Chromebook 16-inch to give away. And it's loaded up with 3 free months of NVIDIA GeForce Now cloud gaming. So it's actually configured for cloud gaming. That's coming to be given away. And then a bunch of peripherals, all kinds of stuff, keyboard, mice, speakerphone, wireless gaming headset. We're gonna be giving away a lot of Lenovo gear. So stay tuned for that giveaway, folks. We will be queuing that up at hothardware.com in the weeks ahead, or days ahead, actually, probably.
Yeah,
maybe by the
it's
end.
looking like we'll probably do 4. We'll probably do 4 winners, so 4 prize packs.
There you go.
Yeah.
4 prizes for the lucky folks. Good stuff from the folks at Lenovo, sponsoring our CES activities as they have every year. And this is part and parcel to that. They also like to give back to the community. And you could win that baby right there. Amazing. It's 17 inches and Intel 12th Gen Core, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
4.4 pounds. Not that heavy for a 17-incher. That's nice.
Yep.
Thin and light.
Really nice.
Before we get rolling, I have to warn everybody.
Uh-oh.
My 11-year-old, I'm sorry, my now 12-year-old just sat at my wife's computer about 10 feet away from me, and she has been singing her head off lately.
Nice.
So if you hear some singing in the background, I'll try to mute, but you're going to get a little entertainment tonight, I think.
A little,
Right.
a little.
As long as we don't get a copyright strike over it.
No, a little Sophie action.
Nice, a little Yuletide caroling for the viewers. Gotta love that.
Yeah, a little. It's actually a little Clifford the Big Red Dog singing.
To warm our Grinch hearts.
Mission to the moon.
Excellent. From Marco's family tree, no less. I mean, you can't be any luckier than that. So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's let's dig in a little bit. Let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about GPUs. Man, we had a whirlwind of releases from NVIDIA and from AMD. We've got the GeForce RTX 40 series. We've got the Radeon RX 7900 series. We've got massive GPUs that are as big as my head, and we've got Radeons that are more powerful and a lot more features. But let's dig in a little bit. Let's talk about the two architectures. Let's talk about the pros and cons, and who you guys feel might be the winner in this round, because it seems like they're trading blows quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So I don't even think we talked 4090. We haven't been on so long. So we've had the RTX 4090 launch, the RTX 480 16 gig card launch, the RTX 480 that was unlaunched, the 12 gig card is presumably coming later under a different name, and AMD has launched the Radeon RX 7900 series based on RDNA 3. So unequivocally 4090 top end card, nothing can touch it, period, end of story. There's no argument there regardless of the workload. The 4090 is just a beast. 4080 versus 7900 series, however, is a different conversation. So if you come check out our review of the 7900 series, we have both the XTX and the XT in the piece. You'll see they kind of, generally speaking, right? You can nitpick the numbers. There's a couple of software anomalies as well. Generally speaking, the XT and XTX kind of sandwich the 4080. XTX is more often than not faster than the 4080 if we don't talk ray tracing. XT a little bit slower than 4080. Again, if we don't talk ray tracing, factor ray tracing into the mix. And NVIDIA is just a generation ahead on RT, and it shows. It is what it is. This is only AMD's second generation RT technology. But my main takeaway from this in terms of performance is both generations are a massive leap in terms of performance and efficiency over the previous gen. So if you waited to upgrade until the GPU craziness ended, and now's the time for you to start shopping, man, did you pick a good time, because they both families are big upgrades over the previous gen.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to share it out. And Chris, I'm seeing your anomaly now on the site. I got to get that looked at. That's bizarro.
Is it the site or is it StreamYard? Oh no, yes, it's got to be the site.
No, it's got to be the site. Got to be the site. But I'm gonna share some benchmarks. Yeah, if you keep it out in desktop mode, Chris, it'll be fine.
Okay.
But I'll share now. So yeah, right there. Cool.
The desktop mode just makes it
oh, good. Okay. Yeah, it's a little less clear. But yeah, so this is just our first round of benchmarks, and this is the 7900 series XT and XTX review that Marco pulled together. And as you can see, the XT, in this benchmark within striking distance, the XTX, the XT sandwiching basically the 3090 Ti. This is Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed here. And you can see both are above the 4080 in that title.
Between the XT and the XTX at lower resolution. So if you want to push like 1080p high frame rate or even 1440, the XT does tend to, at least because you may be more CPU bottlenecks anyways, maybe makes more sense than the XTX. But when you are pushing higher resolutions and higher settings, I think the XTX scaling is just that little bit more than the value difference. But
yeah, so these are difficult conversations, right? So there's a whole bunch of questions that I think we should get to in terms of value, like pure value. And I know it's hard to say this, but $1,000 GPU, the XTX is the value winner because it's way not a ton more, but $100 more performance over the XT, absolutely. And it's $200 cheaper than the 4080. So plus you get, and there's other advantages to AMD too. You get that 24 gig frame buffer. There's advantage and the smaller form factor. So it's not just about performance, right? There's other advantages for the XTX. Now, I just want to quickly, Tease had mentioned that RDNA 3 really disappointed him. Tease, if you could throw some comments as to why, I would love to have a conversation about those. So yeah, like the conversation this time around, the 4090 is just way more expensive. It's like, $700-800 more than the 7900 series. So that's just a different proposition.
Right.
But in terms of the 7900 series versus the 4080, it's almost like the conversation shouldn't really revolve around pure performance because they're so close. You can nitpick and see where they trade. But there's other attributes to the cards. There's power, there's form factors, there's price, there's, creator features where like NVIDIA was way ahead in some of the tests I ran in terms of OpenCL and Blender and, Blackmagic video rendering. So there's a lot of stuff to discuss that's over and above frame rates because the frame rates are great, on all of these cards. It's a huge upgrade over the previous gen. When you can make a 3090 Ti look slow, it's a fast GPU,
Yeah, and when you can make a 3090 look slow and do it in, a form factor that's traditional graphics card. For me, that's what I'm a little bit caught with on the 40 series from NVIDIA. Love the horsepower, love the clearly over-engineered cooler designs, for super, within thermal limits, kind of performance. I mean, that cooler is gonna wick away heat like nobody's business, and do it quietly. But I literally can't get it into. I have a Main Gear Vibe that I built with the guys at Main Gear. Me and you, Marco, got together, went down there, built this awesome liquid cooled rig, and I can't get the GPU in there, and it's a mid-tower case. I can see. I don't have a problem with saying, okay, I need 3 PCI Express 8-pin leads to the dongle. That's okay, and even some of the little snafus with the dongle issue. But when I can't mechanically fit something in there, it's kind of like, maybe it was overdone a little bit. Should there, for me, I'm thinking NVIDIA come out with a 4080 Slim. You can probably do it. But
and the 4080, 4090 FEs aren't even the biggest versions of the cards.
Right.
There's AIBs that go even larger.
It's just insane. Yeah.
I have a theory, and Steeze's first comment is exactly the perfect foundation for my theory. So the
This
first
one right
reason,
here?
yes. So, it wasn't the performance that Steez was particularly disappointed with. It was the performance targets and the potential efficiency numbers. My theory this generation, right? So it's easy to call NVIDIA out for these large form factors, but I just want to show you, this is XFX's 7900 XT. This thing is 13.5 inches. It's bigger than the 4090. It's huge. Look at this thing. Look at
That's
this.
the 7900 XT?
Not even so. The XTX is the same size, but this is only
Yeah.
that. Look at that. And I got a big head. Like, this is
You
a
do.
big GPU. So I think NVIDIA took AMD's performance targets to heart, and they were shooting for those original performance targets,
Right.
and thought they needed those huge coolers, and were going to push clocks and voltages higher, and hence power higher. And we saw those early rumors of 800-watt 40 series cards. And then AMD, as we got closer to launch, I'm sure NVIDIA caught wind of real performance numbers of AMD stuff and said, okay, we don't have to go that nuts. Hence all the confusion with model numbers and et cetera, et cetera. AMD hits, and performance is great, but it did not hit their targets. Now, efficiency is pretty darn close because it blows the 6900 XT out of the water at similar power, right? It's somewhat lower power. So it is a massive efficiency improvement, not as efficient as NVIDIA's this round, but it is a big improvement.
Right.
But I think that's the crux of why things went a little sideways this generation. The targets were originally much higher for both, and when NVIDIA finally realized what AMD's actual performance was, they relaxed a little, dialed it back, and now I think both companies have room to kind of grow for refreshes in the next few months.
The other
Agreed.
Agreed.
The other
completely.
dimension to the pricing is that the last gen cards are still pretty plentiful in the market, and their prices have dipped down, which maybe these latest gen cards are worth every penny they're at, but when the last gen cards are dipped maybe below where their value should be, or however you want to rationalize it, it does kind of make it less an AMD versus NVIDIA and more of a current gen versus just picking up the last gen if you don't need to go absolutely nuts with your GPU.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm trying to look up prices on Amazon right now. I'm seeing a 3080 Ti for $829.
And those cards have to sell out. I mean, they got to clear their stock. So
and we're still not fully out of the anomaly because yes, the mining thing has died off, but the implications to the market and GPU quantities and allocations, that's still playing out, right? So it's going to be another few months. And another wrinkle with Dave, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, good to see you, Kelt. We've got Falcon Northwest, who says he's got an SFF, a small form factor system with a 4090 Ti or 4090, excuse me, in it. Hey, good stuff. I'm glad you figured out the physics on that because in an SFF, that's impressive. And stay tuned because we are looking at that system for Kelt. Kelt is sending it in, and hopefully it will pass muster. Hopefully it's not like a hot toaster, Kelt. You know what I'm saying, kid?
I bet a bunch of viewers and readers would love to have one of those rigs. We'll see what happens.
We were talking with Kelt, and he was kind of teasing he might give that thing away. So stay tuned there too.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now,
if he's feeling generous, for the holidays.
Another interesting part of the conversation that I think I just put a couple sentences in the review, but this is a good discussion for a deeper discussion. If you look at the power of AMD's cards, right? 7900 XTX has a 355 watt board power, and those are typically, they peak higher than that. But if you look at the power connectors, right, you have two 8-pin PCIe power connectors, 150 watts each, and then 75 watts from the slot. That is very little headroom for power, right? You're talking 15 watts headroom. So I would not be surprised if in the next few months we see Radeons with triple 8-pin power connectors and perhaps, I don't know, tweaked board designs, perhaps another spin. I don't know. I'm just speculating where we see higher clocks and more perf. And we already know that there's room to improve RDNA 3 with software, right? This is a totally new architecture with totally new packaging. This is like a new paradigm for GPUs. There's the fact that it works as good as it did out of the gate. It's pretty damn impressive when you factor in it's the first chiplet-based consumer GPU. So the next few months, there's going to be so many changes, like across the GPU landscape. With Intel optimizing software and drivers, AMD's clearly got room to grow. NVIDIA just never stops executing, right? So it's going to be wild the next few months, I think.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, AMD did say that they architected RDNA 3 for 3 gigahertz clocks, and while they kind of lowballed at their announcement, saying like 2.4, 2.5 game clocks, in our review we saw what 2.8 ish.
I got to 2.9-ish, and I did break
2.9-ish?
3 with overclocking. If
With
I upped the power
overclocking,
limit.
yeah. But I think that's the kind of headroom, if it really is there, that when you add that extra power connector in the AIB boards and really push it, that we can see that growth, assuming that the power curve allows it.
Yep.
Yeah, and here's the power graph that Marco pulled together. This was during a Far Cry 6 run with ray tracing enabled. So really, trying to tax the GPU, and you can see, from the 4080 on up to the 3090 Ti, how much more efficient versus, for example, a 3090 Ti and a 3090, how hard those were pushed. How much more efficient like the XT and the 4080 are versus previous gen.
Those 40 series cards are really efficient there.
And you remember a few months ago, people were like, "Oh, it's 600 watts. You're going to burn down your rig." Blah blah. It was all BS. It was all
rating and thermal design targets are not the same as actual power consumed.
Yep.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Are you hearing that? I'm sorry.
Sophie's singing. It's all right. It's all right. It's all good. Happy kids are good. As long as she's not screaming at you, right?
I'm choking over here. Sorry.
So yeah, anyways, for me.
Oh, wait, you know what though? Stop, pause there for a second. Look at that. Look at that product photography. Come on.
It's nice.
That's pretty sharp.
Look at this.
It's pretty crispy.
Pretty nice.
Crispy. I was thinking to myself that for me, the XTX from a performance standpoint and form factor, I think is an easier plug-in for a lot of folks. And so I kind of think they won with that one. But obviously in terms of all-out performance, you can't touch a 4090. Yeah, I know, right?
That's the difference between the reference design and some of the board partners. Look at the length difference on that. Why
would the board partner overdo that too? Are they cranking the clocks?
So XFX, we have a separate review of this. They do crank the clocks a little, and you know what you'll find. The clocks are also more stable, and this card, it's a little loud when the fans spin up, but it absolutely didn't have to, because I think the max temp I saw was like 72, and that's the junction temp, not the GPU temp. So it's like it runs so cool. The cooler is so massive.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the review of the XFX card now. Let me get to performance numbers, and we can see how far ahead it is. Here we go.
If I remember right, a lot of the results were pretty close to the reference design, but when you're adding it, that it's significantly cooler and everything and quieter on top of it, then that can add its own value, even if it's not in raw FPS.
Right. Hang on one sec. Merc. Why is this not? Oh gosh, Chris, you should be doing this. That's the problem. It's your fault. I got a million tabs open too. So
while you guys are figuring that out, I'm not going to say the username, but wow, that is expensive down in New Zealand. I don't know what the currency differential is there, but holy smokes, 2,300 for 4080 is high. And we have Falcon saying my head should be the new standard for GPU measurement. I can go for that. I always, if I'm going to be known for something, it would be great for something fun like that.
Well, it reminds me of what's the photography channel with Chris Nichols?
DP Review.
Yeah, DP Review, where they measure lenses in terms of the Noct lens.
Yeah.
That's just a unit of a lens.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, this card, as you can see here, this is an XT that is, as you can see, a notch above the reference design in some spots, but not hugely so. Here's 153 versus 152 average FPS,
and
so the XFX Merc 310.
And noticing throughout these, a lot of times the minimum frame rates in the AMD cards do seem to drag a bit. Is
What does
that
that tell
something
you?
we can chalk up to driver optimization? If there's
That's what that tells me. Yeah,
I want to say yes, right? So the Infinity Cache really helped the previous gen to get some of those minimum frame rates up. And I originally thought breaking the Infinity Cache out into the chiplets might introduce some funkiness, right? So I had asked AMD a question: is the Infinity Cache behaving differently in RDNA 3 versus RDNA 2? Because RDNA 2 had slower Infinity Cache, less bandwidth, but it had more of it. And they actually responded and said, and I didn't know this before, perhaps I should have, that the Infinity Cache has always been segmented per memory controller channel. So I don't think it's anything to do with the chiplets. It's perhaps has something to do with the lower capacity Infinity Cache, but it's more than likely a driver optimization thing. I'm going to guess at this point, because it doesn't seem like it should be slower in any way.
agreed.
I know they did expand the low-level cache, L001,
right,
I think
and that's
L2.
something. Yeah, NVIDIA and AMD both went way wider and deeper in the L1 and L2 caches and other buffers throughout the chips. It's part of the reason why the performance and efficiency is so much better with this generation.
But when you see, when you see higher frame rates, high average frame rates that compete, for example, in this case with a 4080, a 7900 XT, getting within sniffing distance of a 4080, and the mins are so low, that tells you you've got some areas of the game engine that it's hanging up on. It's
right.
It's
Scroll up to the detail data.
And the 6900 XT also shows some of that, but not quite to the same extent.
Right there, you mean, Marco?
Right. Yeah. So you'll see the lowest 0.1% of frame rates is higher, it's 47, and the lowest 1% way up to 65. So it's really just that 1 or 2 really low valleys where the game choked. But it was completely repeatable. I want to say I ran Assassin's Creed like 10 times at various settings and messing with the drivers. It always does that. So it's either an architectural thing, which I don't really think so, or there's just driver work to do.
Yeah, and then you look at other games like Forza Horizon 5, which is probably a console port, right? Is it Forza? Yeah, it's probably a console port, if I have that right. And because AMD has probably optimized the heck out of that thing for consoles, and it powers the consoles, performance there is real strong. You
but
can
still not.
Look at 40 series. Look at 40 series though. Look at the minimums on 40 series.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Scroll down to 4K though, because the 1440 is more CPU bound.
Yeah.
It levels off a little bit at 4K, except for the 4090.
Right. 4090 is a beast. There's no question about that.
Else. Do you think we'll see a 40 series Titan or a 4090 Ti, or do you think consumers are even ready for that?
They're not ready for it, but let's say all right, so there was this whole hullabaloo over A0 silicon with Radeons this week, and then people were speculating, AMD is going to come out with a new rev in a few months with more perf, whatever. I don't buy into all of the hullabaloo about it being A0, but I do think this first effort from AMD. It's later than they wanted, but it is a first effort in many ways. So I could see them iterating relatively quickly, because they learned a lot through all the simulation and testing of these things. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a few months you see a refresh, especially, again, keeping that power in mind. There's very little headroom in terms of the power configuration. So if AMD does that, NVIDIA is going to refresh, right? They're just going to. So yeah,
Supers,
I think we'll see
some more TIs.
Right.
And there's another interesting aspect about that A0 story. It's an interesting one that somebody made that observation and then ran with it. They're shipping broken silicon or something like that. That's the negative view. The positive view of that is something that Ian Kutras, a friend of ours, what's
Potato.
Tech Potato. Yeah, something Potato. Sorry, I always forget his channel name. It's not quite catchy enough. But anyways, the Potato said, and he's right. He said it's an absolute miracle that they could ship A0 silicon and have it function, because a GPU is a huge, complicated, complex, massive design. And, errata is like default. It's like almost always there. And you got to spin to get it, to get it shippable.
Right.
So they freaking nailed it,
shipping
pretty well
A0
on A0.
does happen.
It does. Well,
it's not.
I don't know about GPUs, but I wouldn't know what the statistics are on that. But
yeah, it's happened.
Yeah.
NVIDIA's done it too.
It's happened. But
yeah. It's interesting stuff, and I think what's interesting about AMD. I mean, NVIDIA's been an execution engine for generations now. I mean, you have to admit, I mean, 20 series, 30 series, now 40 series. I mean, they're powerful, fantastic products. Stronger, faster every time. AMD didn't have that kind of cadence for a long time, and it's nice to see AMD back in full execution. I mean, that's a competitive product, right? And that helps everybody out. More options, better competition. You probably had, NVIDIA, pushing its envelope a little bit, as it got closer, or holding stuff back. That whole thing with the 12 gig 4080 was a little bit of a whoops,
Right.
So anyways.
Well, and don't forget that the chiplet design itself helped AMD push higher yields. So
we assume,
but just off the physics of having smaller chips as you're doing the lithography process,
right,
you're gonna statistically pull better yields out of that. Now, it doesn't disregard if there's an actual defect with the design, but from the production phase.
You make a good point, Chris, and I forgot about that. Yeah, like this is the first chiplet-based GPU, of its kind in consumer GPU, that is. And yeah, that makes a big difference in terms of yield, in terms of known good die per wafer kind of thing. So yeah, that makes an impact. So it's very interesting to see AMD still leaning on this chiplet architecture, which is kind of the way of the future for a lot of next generation designs. You can't keep pushing these big, monolithic dies out and do it with, full yield efficiency. So
all I can say is between
NVIDIA does.
Yeah. All I can say is between AMD and NVIDIA and the GPUs, and AMD and Intel on the CPU side, it's making my decision to upgrade my PC very, very difficult, because I was hoping by the time we'd get to this end of this review cycle that there'd be clear winners in the CPU space, clear winners in the GPU space, and it's suffering from success, I guess.
I think you got to wait till after CES, because I have a feeling we'll hear from both Intel and AMD.
Yeah. And Intel's been quiet. We want them back in the fray as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the GPU up at least at the level of performance I'm looking for anytime soon. But I think I still think they have a chance in the mainstream market right now.
Yep.
If they continue their driver improvements like they've been doing.
Yeah, I would love to do an ARC 2 months out from launch. Just I can't get to it with holidays and CES, but that would be great to just refresh the test rig, newest software and drivers, because I already know DX9. There's big improvements. And, they tweaked a bunch of stuff in the driver already. And
a lot of the games have native DX9 now.
We can probably spin up somebody like Zach on that, right, Marco?
Got to get him the cards, though. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Here you go. This is an interesting comment. Roderick, hopefully Elon Musk will develop its first super GPU someday. I don't know.
I'm not a Musk hater, but I don't think he's building a GPU.
No, I think he knows enough to. It's that business isn't profitable enough, probably, or something. I don't know. He's staying in the areas that are very, very difficult to build and can charge a fortune for, like spaceships. So, all right. Well,
blue check marks. That's where,
Yeah,
that's a different
exactly.
conversation.
Oh my
So we
God.
missed
Don't
a
even get me
couple.
started.
We missed a couple questions as we
Let's
were
do it.
chatting.
I was going to say, let's get into that. Yeah.
So one was just a quick general, and I just scrolled past that. I forgot the user that threw it up here, but someone was asking, what do we think of DLSS 3? Does either of you guys want to take it, or do you want me to jump in?
Yeah,
and chat?
for me, that's an interesting topic. I mean, I think DLSS 3 is I like it a lot. I think the technology that NVIDIA introduced with frame generation really sort of changes the game, like literally and figuratively in a lot of areas. So, we can have this whole discussion about if it's generating frames and only rendering, a portion of the workload. Is it really doing the work? Who cares? As long as it looks good and it's faster.
You want to know a
That's my
secret
thought.
about video in general? It's split up into different types of frames. You have your iframes, your B frames, and P frames.
Yep.
And only the iframes actually show all the data in it, and the rest is basically just changes
Tossed away.
from frame
Yep.
to frame. So you're not
Yep.
refreshing every frame every time. And
Right.
it's kind of similar.
Well, yeah,
So-
and for me,
different means.
for me, I don't have an issue with that. Some people, have thought through this and said, what are we doing here? Who cares if the AI renders the frame and it's generated? As long as it looks
care
good.
if the injected latency is noticeable.
Right, like that's the crux,
Right.
right? It's not just frame rates, because the system does not respond to inputs during the
generation.
generated frame.
Yeah.
So you get
Yep.
frame rates that you may, subconsciously be expecting a certain level of latency, and then you don't get that latency. So it can feel sluggish,
Right.
even though your frame rates are high.
Have
Now,
you
I've done
noticed
the
that?
latency measurement. So not really, right? Because
Yeah.
I was testing with Fortnite. The testing latency with the latest frame view, NVIDIA's reviewers guides want you to think it's just flick a switch and it works, but it just didn't work across the board for me. Fortnite was the only game where it worked consistently, and you see there is a crossover point where the latency is not any better, right? When you use those FSR modes with the DLSS modes with frame generation. So like you got to find that balance. If you don't need the extra performance, perhaps don't turn it on. And if you want the extra performance, just going to get used to it feeling a little bit different.
And there's a big difference between playing a game like Cyberpunk that's more experiential versus something like Fortnite or other Twitch shooter games where you gotta, every frame matters. So context matters.
I'm actually looking for your DLSS 3 stuff while you're talking there, guys.
Go to the 4090 review and scroll to the bottom of page 2 or 3. I don't remember.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Like the other interesting part of this discussion is AMD announced FSR 3 with frame generation, but it's not using AI, right? And I always go back to TVs. Like, you've heard of the soap opera effect on TVs, where like TVs are basically interpolating frames as well. And sure as heck they're not using machine learning to do that. So
yeah, and I've seen comparisons
mojo,
between that interpolation and what things like DLSS 3 are doing, and the quality of DLSS 3 is significantly better. You can get some really weird artifacts with televisions injecting fake frames. So that experience I don't think is even comparable. But to better explain the process with the frame generation is you're generating frame A, you're generating frame B, and so you present frame A, you've generated frame B, then you're presenting the middle frame that's being generated, and then finally B as it comes. So that's where that latency is coming from, is you're presenting that in between generated frame after the frame that comes after it has been rendered.
Right. Right.
So Dave, scroll down a little bit more.
Okay. Lightsim, what do you want?
No, keep going. Wait, was it this?
Fortnite?
No, go up.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
So the latency?
No, go up. Oh, wait a minute. Go to the 4080 review. Wait, scroll to the bottom. Did I get Plague's a Requiem at the bottom? Go to the 4080 review. I didn't plug it into this.
I have to stop sharing. Hang on.
Yeah, sorry.
Stop. All right, I'll pull up the 4080 review.
So
it's okay. I'm not used to driving these guys. This is Chris's job. You guys are killing me. That's
I conveniently broke things, so
yeah.
but yeah,
Chris, are you taking that question from Kelt?
yeah. What's our take on real versus interpolated or AI generated frames? Is it a cheat or an advancement?
I don't. That's what I was saying. I don't think it's a cheat.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I think it's
I don't view it as a cheat. I just view it as situational. It all comes down to the latency. I think the quality of the frames, like just looking at playback or just watching footage, I think it looks fantastic, especially when you're smoothing out motion and animations just tend to look better. I've seen very little weird artifacts. Like even I think the artifacts you get from the DLSS upscaling or the FSR upscaling, I think is more distracting than the little weird temporal bits you get from the frame generation. So I'm not worried about that, but it really does just come down to, am I noticing the latency and does the latency matter versus not?
And Marco, you've got some latency numbers here.
Yeah, oh, am I muted? Hold on. Yeah, no,
no, you're not.
I'm just want to make sure I'm speaking to the right one. So scroll all the way down, and you're going to see a single graph. That one, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one.
So what you see here, right? So the green bar, because we're not zoomed in and you can't read the numbers. That's the latency just running natively, right? At 4K in a Plague Tale Requiem. Boy, I had that graph.
There it goes. There it goes.
So
you were right. Hang on.
If you just enable DLSS without frame generation, right, and you just get increased frame rates, you'll see commensurate with the higher frame rates, you get lower latency, which is what you would expect, right? The higher the frame rate, the lower latency if you're not using any sort of, monitor sync. So when you flip on the frame generation, though, it's only with the ultra performance, the highest frame rate with frame generation, which is the lowest visual fidelity, that the latency is better than native. Once you're in the other modes, performance mode is about equal, and then balanced in quality, you end up with higher latency than native, right? It's not horrible. And if you look at latency versus AMD, it's still lower, right? In some titles, but it's there is an impact to frame generation, and that's the trade-off.
So it's interesting if you looked at, for example, your DLSS 3 number here and the latency, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 45 milliseconds. You're saying what would be good to have in this chart, which we don't, would be the AMD numbers.
Right. So in a Plague Tale, it didn't work. Right, the latency didn't work, but I was able to get them for Fortnite in the 7900 review, and AMD's latency is way higher, and if you mess with AMD anti-lag, it does erratic things to frame rates. So I didn't trust the data, so I just reported native without messing with it. But NVIDIA, the reason NVIDIA has really been pushing latencies because they really did a lot of work here, and it shows in the initial numbers that I've able to actually test.
Now, at any point, have you noticed any drawback to enabling things like reflex or I forget the other terms for the other?
Not on NVIDIA. I haven't seen anything weird with NVIDIA, but in all honesty, I haven't spent enough time actually playing to make an educated comment. But with AMD, I did experiment. I tried to get numbers with and without anti-lag, and with anti-lag on, it was doing weird things to frame rates, so I didn't know what was what, and I was like, I ran out of time, and it was like, all right, just don't put it in. There's a lot more experimentation that needs to be done.
It's just one of those
trying to get to your latency marks. Go ahead.
What is the trade-off? Because if it's always good, then why not just have it enabled by default? But if there are trade-offs to frame rate or other aspects, then
there was
to understand.
Both Tap and Scott Watson, when he was at AMD working on software, I had that conversation, and I'm forgetting the reason why it's not on by default. There is a potential hiccup somewhere, and I'm forgetting what it is. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to add this to the stream now. This is what you're looking for here.
Is that was FPS? No, that's FPS.
Okay, here's the Fortnite latency.
Yeah. So just look at that chart right there. Right. Yeah. So look at the GeForce RTX 4080 latency. Although frame rates are kind of similar,
Right.
Look at the latency difference.
Way different. Yeah.
Right.
Much lower. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
even when you had frame generation on, we weren't seeing the latencies up to 72, 86
Right.
milliseconds.
Again, and this is just Fortnite, and I don't know if anti-lag did lower latency, but then the frame rate was different, and it really shouldn't have been. So like it didn't make sense. So there's probably software tuning AMD needs to do to get all of those features in the Adrenaline Edition software to work on RDNA 3 properly.
Yeah. 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 Cool stuff. I mean, it is nice to see. I mean, again, I don't think I have a problem with the frame generation personally. I think as you noted, Chris, it's all about image quality, and then how does the game play? How does it feel? And if you have a latency issue or not. But it doesn't look like that's going to be a problem because latency is respectable no matter what. Yeah, it's good stuff all around.
Yep.
Here's FSR versus DLSS3. You can see some of the performance numbers right there.
Yep.
4080 versus a 7900 XT, and then the XTX on top. And
those are real tough comparisons because it's not apples to apples image quality. I think the takeaway is you have an option if you want to increase frame rates at 4K, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's great to see. I will say it's great to see these upscaling technologies advancing like they are and giving us back, because when you enable ray tracing and ultra high quality image quality settings, you're going to tank frame rates, and it's great to reclaim some of that and to have this technology keep advancing.
It'll be really great when we see it trickle down to the lower end cards, like the greatest form of the DLSS and the FSR.
Right. And it'll be even better when we don't need it anymore because GPUs are so powerful and we can just do it all natively.
More graphics.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I don't think we're ever going to get there. I think they'll just flip on more, you'll have fully path traced and,
I think we'll hit the ceiling in terms of display resolution, right? I think that display resolution right now, it's increasing. Like displays are increasing at a, relatively speaking, a rapid clip versus the historical advancements. But I think we'll hit that ceiling before we hit the GPU performance ceiling. So the need for the scaling technologies way out in the future, it may be less of a requirement.
The future is looking exciting too, and I'm thinking of things like, what's the Unreal Engine, the Faces demo, and I'm forgetting the name of it.
I don't remember.
Do you remember that? You guys remember that? I mean, they have you just see the animation now, the quality of the animation, how much more realistic everything is, and that's really kind of, I mean, you can animate landscape and moving vehicles and all that different stuff, but capturing character animation it's really hard to do, and convincingly. And some of the stuff that's coming out now, it's like it's blowing me away. I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, it's beginning to look like we're crossing the uncanny valley, just a little bit.
Yeah, the Unreal Engine 5.2 stuff looks amazing. I think the biggest impact, though, I think in the next, I don't know if it's the biggest, I might be overstating it, but I think direct storage is going to have a huge impact in the next year or two.
I think you're right.
No more loading screens and just, seamless gameplay. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I got to find that. I got to find their demo. The Unreal Engine Faces demo. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's good stuff. Yeah.
I think it's MetaHumans. I think Kelt just posted.
Oh, there we go. MetaHuman. I'll have to dig that up. MetaHuman. Anyways, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, man.
And I think as graphics technology keeps advancing, we're kind of, you see how the metaverse and all this stuff is going to come into play, and how it's going to, interact, and how much more lifelike it's going to be. It sounds exciting. It's every year, Marco, you and I have always said this, and we've been in this game for 20 plus years, dating ourselves, 23 now. Working in 24. Every year we're like, there's always something that just grabs us and goes, wow, man, this is, this was science fiction, a couple of years ago or whatever.
Until until everything's photorealistic, there's tons of work to do.
Yeah. Photorealistic and wireless, right? With minimal latency, like strap on the goggles.
With resolution so high that you can't make out pixels no matter how close you are to the display,
Yeah. There you go. In nice light glasses that just go right over your eyes, and now you're in the game.
I don't know if I'll ever wear the glasses, but give me a nice, 16K display. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll still have that, but I mean, if you want to get really immersed in the game, I mean, cool stuff for sure. Well, I think we're at the bottom of the hour, and we should probably wrap. But man, it was good to finally get back together, gentlemen. We need to make this more of a regular occurrence. We got a little busy there, huh?
Yeah,
just a touch.
But yeah, no, good stuff for sure. Stop by hothardware.com where you can find us on the web, and all of Marco's hard work in the GPU space is up there. Stay tuned for our giveaway. That's coming with Lenovo, the good folks at Lenovo. Kelt and Falcon Northwest, they're coming too. We got a review of his mini PC. I think is it a Tiki?
It's not a Tiki.
It's not a Tiki.
He said the Tiki doesn't fit the 4090.
Okay.
And
what
the
is
name's
it?
Escaping
Talon, maybe. Kelt, we're giving you a chance to plug, buddy. Anyways, that's coming as well with a 4090 in it and a 13th gen Intel powered, I believe. So really good stuff on tap. Of course, your coverage of CES, which will be coming out shortly as well in the days ahead once we get through the holidays. And did you guys get your Christmas shopping done? Are we done now, gents?
Oh, I'm not. You've been working me too hard. I gotta get time to go out and shop.
Yeah.
I Amazoned everything. And I just want to say one quick thing. I may have written those reviews, but Chris saved my ass with the Radeon review. I was unable to travel to AMD for the briefings. Chris stepped in, took care of the launch piece, worked with Zach on the architecture piece. He literally saved my ass because I didn't have to worry about any of that shit. Oh, sorry, stuff.
It's okay.
For the review.
Everybody gets one.
Oops. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, Chris gets a lot of the credit for us being able to pull off the AMD coverage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a great team at Hot Hardware, and Marco, you had to take a knee there for a little bit for family reasons, and that's okay. That's what happens, and then everybody else steps up and rallies and for you, and that's the way it's supposed to work. That's the good stuff right there. So thank you, Chris. Thanks everybody on Team Hot Hardware for your efforts these past few weeks and months. It has been a bit of a whirlwind, but we got our legs back now. Oh, and you guys are going to Vegas. God help you.
God, what a mistake.
Yeah, baby. Well, you gotta go in there and mix it up with the germs. You'll be fine. Yeah. You already got your COVID out of the way. You'll be fine. So
I just had it 2 weeks ago, so I'm as protected as I'm gonna get.
You're all goosed up with antibodies. Beautiful. Find us on the web at hothardware.com. Twitter.com/hothardware, YouTube.com/hothardware, Hot Hardware Vids. We're everywhere. We're on Twitch, Hot Hardware Twitch as well. And hit that reminder bell, subscribe, and like so that we get noticed for you and you get notified when we go live and stream. Try and hit Wednesdays at 5:30 Eastern when we can do it. Sometimes we can't, but we do give notice when we do, so hit that reminder bell so you get notified. And then stay tuned for the Lenovo giveaway, hothardware.com, coming up in the days ahead. And in the meantime, thanks everybody for stopping by.